All you moonshiners, if you want to hear.
Welcome back to Barley and Hops. I'm George. And for those of you who have not subscribed yet, what the hell? Just go ahead and subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. Listen, today we're just going to, real quick, we're going to talk about those pesky electrical connectors on the end of your heater element. Yeah, and remember, just for full disclosure, with anytime you're messing with electricity, yes, there should be a big warning and a caution sign. Be careful. You can shock yourself. We've seen that happen. And all too often, look, stuff happens. We know that. We want to protect ourselves and everyone else around us as much as we possibly can. And the easiest way to do that is to cover those things so that when you walk by, you don't get electrocuted. Or should something fall down here, you don't cross those two terminals and then have a short circuit and blow your circuit, all those other things. So what we do is, we just put a cover on the end of it. Now, I found this, I love this about this community. It's like, we call it the SIS, Share Ideas Shamelessly, SIS. And someone wrote in a long time ago, and I did a video on it then too, is these furniture leg covers, and that's all they are. They pop on the end of a furniture leg. Look, you can get these at just about any hardware store. I use the 1 1/8 inch size because they happen to fit on the end of an element almost perfectly. They just wrap on the outside. There we go, and it covers that stuff. And of course, we want to be covered so that when we walk by and touch it accidentally, we don't get shocked. And they're really, really easy to adapt or manufacture on your own. I use these gland plugs. That's what they're called. They're gland fitting and this one is a PG 13.5. If you order them on Amazon, they're gland fittings. And what that is you put your cable in one end. I've got a piece, there it is. You put your cable in one end and then you screw the gland plug on tight, and what it does is it collapses around that cable. It keeps it from pulling out. So it secures it, and it's a really good device for putting them on your project boxes where you've got a cable going in. It keeps you from pulling it out. And it also works well on the end of these. Now, all you really have to do, here we go, I got it right here. I took an outside caliper, just a ruler that slides up and down. And if you pull off the end, this is the securing nut that goes on the inside if you use it in a project box. We won't need that any longer now. We just measure the outside of that. I grab a step bit. That's one of these. And you know what a step bit is. And I measure it and find out how far in I've got to go. I mark it on the side with a black marker, and we drill. Now, I've pre-drilled this, but you drill it all the way down and then turn it over and drill it on the inside too, because that rubber's pretty thick. And you get it just the right size, and then what happens is, boom, these are threaded, and since it's rubber, and if you get it situated just right and start to turn it, grab a pair of pliers, it will match itself and thread on there until you get it all the way down. Let me go, there we go, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it will thread itself into that rubber, and it becomes a permanent piece. Now, if we add our cable in here, and what you would actually do, you see I've got that side that's already been cleaned off, run it from the inside out. Attach it to your element, and then screw the gland plug. Now it won't go anywhere. Now this is a good solution, and it's a real cheap solution because it's like, what, $5 or so, or somewhere in that neighborhood for a pack of 4 of these. That's one option you have. The other option, what I came up with, and this is a while ago, are these PVC. This is a PVC coupling. It's a 1-inch threaded coupling and a 1-inch threaded cap. Now you see I've already drilled a hole in that into that. These are excellent because they're a little bit more sturdy. This can pull off. It's very unlikely because you've got the wires attached, but it can pull off. So this is a really, really cheap, inexpensive, simple way to protect your element ends and protect you from being shocked. This one's a little bit more sturdy because if you just take a Dremel tool and you have to shave off the corners of the base of your element, what this will do in itself is it'll start to thread itself, and this screws all the way on, and that becomes a more secure cover. And then all we do is, of course, we would do it the same way. We would run, now where did I put that wire? There's that wire. In this particular case, we would run the wire through here, unscrew this. See, I got to step ahead of myself. Boom, boom, boom. Attach your wires to the end of your element, and then screw it back on to the base of the element. And that makes a pretty good fit, and it would stay there. Now my wire's a little bit long. Now you could put a gland connector here to prevent that from being able to pull out. So that would be a little bit more secure, and it's really inexpensive. This is probably about, I'm throwing about $3 altogether. That's another option. And of course, the most expensive option, and they do make these, this is a 5,500 watt element, and of course this one, instead of going into a 1-inch coupling that is already drilled, that's already been welded here, you'll have that flat flange, and this matches up, marries up to the flat flange, and of course this one is a metal cover that's exactly the same thing as this, and very, very similar to this, with the exception that it's been machined and threaded and it fits right on there. It looks really neat. It's just a lot more expensive because you're buying the whole element. So it's totally up to you. Here, I've got a 5,500 watt element, and that's the way I do that one. Works extremely well. Hey, a viewer wrote in, and I'm so excited about this. I got to share this. Remember, we always talked about that volt amp meter? You know, the volt amp meter we used on this video and several others. We always referred to this as the donut. You put the donut on because we know that what this does is it goes around the current carrying conductor, only one of them, and it just lays there like that. And that's measuring that magnetic field that expands and contracts, expands and contracts. And what that does is it induces a voltage on this coil. And this coil is measured by this meter and tells you how many amps are running through it. That's what it does. The correct name for that thing is a toroidal coil. Yeah, say that 10 times real fast. Have a couple of drinks and try it. A toroidal coil. So that's the proper name for it. And I want to thank the person who sent that in because I searched high and low and couldn't find out what the proper name was. And so there, now we have it. Good. Now, last but not least, I wanted to share one other, where is it? Oh, it's right here. I wanted to share one other thing with you. You know, you'll notice that a lot of times I'll use this black cable. And this is it's like a power cable. You could use, it's totally up to you. I recommend these because they're really, really flexible, sturdy, and oil resistant, water resistant. The name of this thing is, it's an SJOOW. That's what the cable is. It's an SJOOW cable. S is for service, J is junior service, OO means oil resistant, and W means water resistant. So they're rated for, you can run them underwater. They're really, really useful. And since it's a SJOOW, it's rated at 300 volts. If it was an OOW, it would be service, oil resistant, weather, and water resistant, rated at 600 volts. It'll be just a little bit thicker. Oh, phenomenal, easy to find. Type it into Amazon or go down to your local hardware store and tell them I want some SJOOW 12-2, which is 2 current carrying conductors at 12 gauge and a ground. Some will call this 12-3 because there's 3 conductors, 3 potential current, because you know this is not a current carrying conductor, this is the ground. But normally they'll be labeled, this will be labeled as 12-2, 2 current carrying and 1 ground. You could get, 10, 3. This is 1, 2, 3 current carrying conductors and a ground. So it'd be a total of 4 wires. And on the outside, sometimes it'll be listed as 4-C, 4 current carrying conductor, or 4 conductors. Yeah. That's all we got today. So there you have it. One of the most inexpensive and simple ways to protect yourself and those around you. Always beware when you're working with electricity. Happy distilling.